2020 has been an absolute whirlwind of a year. You'd think a year like this would be perfect to sit at home and play games. And while I did do this, a lot of the games I played range from absolutely fantastic to,
What are you running away for?
A good portion of the games that I played that were released this year were also remasters, and I don't feel it's fair to put an enhanced port on a Game of the Year list, so these will be left out. Outside of that, there were a few games I didn't feel like playing because I didn't feel like they were a whole package to me yet. Games such as Final Fantasy VII Remake and Cyberpunk 2077. We also got the Side Bits crew back up and streaming again this year, so a good portion of our time is dedicated to streaming multiplayer games such as Among Us and Jackbox. Twitch.tv/sidebits. Basically what I'm saying is I feel some latter entries on my list are fairly weak compared to the previous year's list. Anyways, enough yammering and complaining about 2020, let's get right on to the list.
Here we go!
10. In a time where free-to-play battle royale games are an extremely common sight, I believe Call of Duty Warzone has a few new mechanics to make itself stand out from the pack. First off, for better or worse, loadouts are an integral part of the gameplay experience. There are a variety of different guns and modifications for each gun that allow people to customize to their heart's content. Most guns have 6 to 7 areas that can be augmented with mods, but each gun can only hold about 5 mods at a time, so you really have to think carefully about how to get the most out of each gun mod. On top of gameplay customization, there's also a ton of visual customization for each gun that allows you to make it feel unique from everyone else's. What makes this so important is that people have the ability to buy loadout drops from buy stations in the game. Having a gun that you are comfortable with and know how to handle makes all the difference of the world in these games. It also negates the need to have to search for better equipment, so some games may end up feeling a bit campy quickly once everyone has their preferred weapon. Another new interesting gameplay idea that was added to this game was the Gulag. Essentially, this provides a second chance at life if you die early, and can outgun the opposition in a 1v1. The idea of being able to come back to life really is a game changer for a multiplayer battle royale such as this, as it means that all party members are allowed more time to actually participate in the game as opposed to watch on the sides. On top of this, movement is quick and fluid with the ability to sprint and slide, and leads to an overall fast and enjoyable battle royale experience. General C. Corn.
Is that some good, is that good enough footage for you there, Burke?
Yeah, now I'm never playing this game again. See ya.
Hang is hard in all capital letters.
9. Factorio is a particularly odd game. I played it a few years ago while it was in early access, and now it's finally been released this year as a full-fledged game. Factorio has an easy enough concept. You are a person stuck on an unknown planet with no one to assist you, and you must gather resources in the form of iron, copper, wood, etc. to help cultivate a comfortable living condition. In this regard, it's very reminiscent of games like Terraria and Rust. How it differs quite drastically, though, is that the areas are not randomly generated, and exploration is not as important as it is in those games. The main gameplay loop in Factorio is finding out how to create a self-sufficient assembly line in order to research new technologies, and then use those technologies to create bigger, self-sufficient assembly lines, and so on and so forth until the objective is completed. Funnily enough, the way I think about it sometimes is that if you are doing well in Factorio, it feels as if the game is playing itself and you are doing nothing. Most of the time this does not come up, as you'll be finding ways to improve what you've already created, or there will be something that comes up that needs to be repaired because it was destroyed by indigenous life forms. I think the learning curve of the scenario mode does an extremely good job of easing you into new concepts and making sure you are ready for the next scenario mission. This is incredibly important in a game that is as complex as Factorio, as you don't want to make people feel dumb or overwhelmed with everything you can accomplish at one time. You will slowly watch as you go from creating small systems to more complex lines in a reasonable amount of time. Basically, if you find yourself spending hours at a time making redstone contraptions in Minecraft, then you're certainly going to love Factorio.
8.
While I played Bug Fables this year, Origami King really taught me that I don't love Paper Mario just for its battle system, but also for its writing as well. While this game is surprisingly long, at about 30 to 40 hours, I actually enjoyed almost all of my experience with it. The world is very colorful and looks great in HD, and each location is fleshed out enough that it feels like they can mirror real-life locations and civilizations. The most controversial aspect of this game is of course the battle system. Nintendo is extremely stubborn about not using the original battle system for whatever reason, so they devised this new one to feature a more puzzle-like aspect to it. It seems pretty simple at first, but there are enemies that like to throw kinks in the system, such as boos that disappear after a certain amount of time, or enemies that can only be hit with a hammer or jump. Items also come into play and allow you to alleviate these kinks that enemies create. Items such as metal boots can be used to stomp on enemies that are flying with spikes, or you have the spin hammer that allows you to knock enemies into each other. While I do think this battle system seems pretty interesting at first, it actually gets quite stale pretty quickly with common enemies, although you actually aren't incentivized to fight enemies, so skipping them is fine. This was an issue in previous games, but is almost a boon in this game, weirdly enough. The main draw of the battle system comes into play during boss fights. They managed to make these double as a puzzle and spectacle at the same time. Each one has a particular mechanic completely different from the last one, and even if you figure out what that mechanic is, there's still the puzzle of trying to figure out a counter plan to it. What I took away from this game was the best parts were the boss fights, and in between there was enough cute or funny moments to keep me engaged until the next boss. Also, for some reason, the Mushroom Kingdom has had some serious inflation, as you'll have way too many coins in your pocket by the end of this game.
7.
Jackbox Party Pack 7 is in a weird place where it has some of the strongest mini-games out of the entire series, but also introduces one of the worst games in the Devils and the Details. Personally, when I am playing a party game after work or on the weekend, I'm not interested in trying to play a fast-paced cooperative game where people are trying to yell over each other. As I mentioned, this pack does introduce possibly two of the best minigames that Jackbox has devised yet in the form of Champed Up and Blather Round. Each features a completely unique idea that has a lot of opportunities for laughs and surprises. Champed Up involves you creating a picture for a champion and someone creating an opponent for that champion without knowing what the championship title is. This can lead to some really funny situations and some really funny counter picks.
I still voted for it.
Please, no Mayor of Flavortown Guy Beer. Dark Guy.
Oh no. Sorry, guys.
Yo, them highlights are on point.
Blather Round, on the other hand, is completely different and has you try and describe the noun that you picked, whether it be a person, place, or thing, by using pre-generated phrases or prompts that other players have put in as well. Quiplash 3 is alright. If you have the previous two entries of this minigame, then you aren't really missing much with this one. And finally, Talking Points is another presentation game similar to Patently Stupid from Jackbox Party Pack 5. I feel as though this is just an inferior version to Patently Stupid, as in that one you create picture slogans and product names on top of creating the starting prompts. I'd also say my friends and I end up playing the former two games, being Blather Round and Champed Up, 80% of the time, but these are so dynamic and hilarious that they just never get boring.
6.
I don't think this game could have come out at any better of a time than the start of the quarantine. Each day in New Horizons, you have a small virtual chore list. Find the money rock, dig up fossils, get the messages in a bottle, talk to villagers, and of course do any of the newly added Nook Mile achievements that you can. This sort of structure really helped me get each day started when the world was in complete disarray. Holidays and events were also added in later patches and gave you a few more limited time chores that allowed you to gain new furniture or items from the seasonal set, i.e. helping the Snow Boy allows you to get pieces from the Frozen seasonal set. The game really excels at making you feel accomplished and at peace through its atmosphere and character interactions. Island terraforming was a huge addition to this game and allowed people to set up islands to their preferred way. On top of this, the crafting and customizing mechanics added so much variety to furniture building and ways to pattern each item you craft. These 2 additions alone make every item in home feel completely personalized and unique to one another, and is by far the best part of the game. My main gripe with the game is that they chose to do a games as a service format. I did pretty much everything the game had to offer in the first month or 2, and then fell off due to feeling like there's nothing left to accomplish. In recent months, I've gotten back into it, and I'm catching up on everything I missed, such as the new items, diving, and holiday events. But I wish I didn't have to wait several months at a time for my interest to be renewed in the game. Even now at the end of 2020, it still feels as though New Leaf offered more content than this entry. Also, what the fuck, Nintendo? Why can't I craft multiple of the same item at one time still? This makes fishing bait, and by extension the fishing tournaments, feel way too monotonous. Overall, the game is a pleasant experience with a few small bumps that could potentially get fixed with some quality of life patches down the line. Hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to watch the first part of my top 10 games of 2020 list. I've been having a lot of fun putting this list together and hope to continue doing this for the next few years to come. It has taken me a bit longer than I thought to put this out, as I'm very new at video editing and I'm learning things as I go. As such, if there is any constructive criticism that anyone would like to leave for me, or if you would like to just comment on the list so far, feel free to leave a message in the comment section below. I believe I should have the next part out sometime next weekend, as I now have a better grasp of what I would like to do with these videos. I hope everyone is having a great 2021 so far. Thank you.